Yes, everyone, welcome back. Stephen Howson. Time for a little bit of transfer talk on a Monday. If you're still going on about losing 4-0 at the weekend, fucking get a grip. That was last weekend. And we're probably going to get beat by the same sort of score next weekend. So just enjoy this little bit in between where we're not losing 4-0. Yeah, the days you don't lose 4-0 are the good days. So focus on them and be happy. And let me know in the comments what you're having for dinner. I've just had, hand-delivered, a chicken and beetroot slaw wrap from Morrison's Market. If you're not going to Morrison's Market and you're in town, you're missing out. It's absolutely belting. And I think it's the only one in the country that does that little bit of a market thingy as well. So Stian says he's having pizza. Winston says he's having a sausage roll. Alrighty. Cass says I'm going to Tesco Market. Chili and baked potato. Lovely. Mexican says Ryan, or as the market. Cheese toasted. Lovely. Chicken and beetroots. And Crying Face says Andy, hey, don't knock it till you try it. Beetroot's the shit, mate. Beetroot is the absolute shit. Right, what's happening with Frenkie De Jong then? Because I'm going to be honest, that's a giddy headline, isn't it? Right? Who is putting their name on that bad boy? Alex Crook, Talksport, bastard. Got excited there for a minute. Things are going to start moving, I think. Whether or not they move quick enough, I don't fucking know. But it was always going to come to a crescendo at the back end of the window, innit? The way Chelsea are rumoured to be linked with absolutely everyone makes me think that they're maybe not as serious as we first thought, because some of the shit coming out from them lot is bananas. However, here's what Alex Crook says. I've heard Frenkie De Jong will be a Manchester United player by the Liverpool game. Alex, we all know when the Liverpool game is. It's Monday. That means a week to be done. This is even bolder than Gerard Romero's 95% done, because 95% done leaves you the wiggle room for something fucked up, or the absolute carnage that is Barcelona happened, and that was that. Right, all right, wicked. You saying it'll be done by the Liverpool game, you're in for a lot of egg on your face, or you're about to get, well, he knew what was going on in there, didn't he? So Sport are saying Barcelona are convinced that Frenkie De Jong will sign for Manchester United. Somebody else saying it. Roger Torello, or Torreo, that could be, I guess, in Spanish. Barcelona reporter says Barca are pushing Frenkie to accept Manchester United's offer. And Jamie Jackson says that Frenkie De Jong remains Erik ten Hag's #1 target. And he also wishes to add a forward with Ajax Anthony remaining of interest. You see the clips of Anthony at the weekend? God damn. We're talking about James Garner in a second, but I wonder if the talk of Garner going is only because it's a revolving door, one midfielder out, one midfielder in. Is that insanely deludedly hopeful, or is that a possibility? Are we trying to raise the 15 million that is rumoured to be a scandalously low fee for James Garner? Are we literally raising that to pay Frenkie De Jong's wages that is owed by Barcelona? How have we ended up having to do that, by the way? We've got enough of our own debt to deal with without paying fucking Barcelona's. Absolutely bonkers. Someone's saying wrong mic. Let me just see if that is the case. I'll try and fix it. Is that any better? Right, okay. I fixed it. That's better. Right. So let's talk about James Garner then. So Laurie Whitwell said United are open to permanent offers for Jimmy Garner, with several Premier League clubs interested in him in a move. Everton, Southampton, Leeds have all shown interest. Tottenham have also watched him. Departure only takes place if it makes sense for United and Garner. Ten Hag decided that he should be allowed to leave if a suitable bid arrives. And sources say United value him at 14 million. Now, Everton are talking about 40 or 50 million pound for Gordon. Now, Gordon's played more games in the Premier League, but I don't know if I personally don't think he's better than James Garner. How about that, right? Should we start right there? I don't think he's better than James Garner. I think James Garner would have been pushing for a starting place at Manchester United this season. Just to pick on one player alone, and McTominay, James Garner is a better footballer than McTominay. Why are we even looking at getting rid of McTominay? Sorry, of James Garner ahead of McTominay. Malp says Gordon is decent. I didn't say he was shit, but I valued James Garner extremely high. And here's another thing. If I was to say to you, a player's more successful coming from the Championship than they are from the Eredivisie, I think you could make a case that there are more successful transitions from players in the Championship than there are successful transitions from players from the Eredivisie. So in which case, why are we spending the sort of money that we've seen spent on the likes of Van der Beek or even Antony, when you look at some of the talent that has played in the Championship, people say they will never replicate that in the Premier League. Grealish, Tony, Mitrovic, these players, if you're good in the Championship, you are good in the Premier League. I don't know why people think it's not the same. Yes, there's different levels to it, but I do not dismiss having the season that James Garner has had in the Championship as not being a positive. Abhinav Verma says Alex Crook lives up to his name. It's a bit harsh. Also, isn't 14 million similar to the dividends the Glazers took out in June? They could have easily raised that money elsewhere. Yep, 100%. And also, we got 300 grand for Dylan Levitt. $300 for Dylan Levitt and 14 million for James Garner is an absolute scandal. If United tried to buy someone with those circumstances, you'd be talking double that. Were Wan-Bissaka's credentials any better? And we paid 50 million for him. What the fuck? Matt Gwinnett says, Steve, love the show. Thank you, brother. Do you think we need to be ruthless 100% in selling now and just replace the first team in a surplus? The Glazer shithouses. Look, yeah, I'm all for being ruthless, but why are we being ruthless with Jimmy fucking Garner at 21 years of age when Phil Jones is still a Manchester United player? You can't be selectively ruthless and not ruthless in other times. Hostad says, is MK suing you so he's got the money to buy United? If that's his plan, we're fucked, lads. I mean, I think we're fucked anyway, because I don't think that guy's the right guy. I certainly don't think the way he conducts himself. I mean, hang on. Without making this the Michael Knighton fucking circus, like, let me just read you this one fucking line off him, just to know what he's about. When you think about the theatrics that you saw doing Keep You Uppies at Old Trafford, and when you think about some of the other shit that this guy's done, and you tell me that this isn't all for show, he goes, I may be persuaded to hand you the writ for malicious slander live on your show if that suits. Just think of the views you would get and what a dramatic final end to your podcast. This guy's not serious. This is not a serious guy. A guy that is trying to buy the biggest football club in the world. A guy that's trying to buy the biggest football club in the world does not speak like that. If you're going to get litigious, get litigious. And if you feel like you need to sue someone, sue them. Why are you making a fucking theatric show out of it? Guy's an absolute fucking dreamer. It should be nowhere near Manchester United. Absolutely nowhere near Manchester United. The fact that he's getting into a spat with a YouTuber, he's not equipped. Mentally, financially, not equipped to run this football club, in my opinion. Rukov says, did I hear Ronaldo being told to terminate his contracts due to his behaviour? Yes. Now, I haven't actually got notes on that one, but I will talk about that one after I do super chat. I'll just read that first. Is it such a big deal if we finish 10th? The media circus around United has to go before improvements can happen. The whole place is a cauldron. The joy is gone. Yeah, it'd be pretty bad if we finished 10th. Tom says, dangerous games if Ten Hag, from Ten Hag, if he's happy to sell Garner. If he lets our young talent go, there'll be a lot less sympathy if he fails. That's a good point. Jack says, all right, swapping Garner out for Rabiot stinks of a board decision. Can you see Ten Hag walking away? I don't know. Don't know enough about him. Any news on Jim Radcliffe, says Jack Lynch. I have no idea on what the thoughts of Jim Radcliffe are, and anyone claiming to do so that isn't Jim Radcliffe is fucking chatting shit, aren't they? The only thing that Jim Radcliffe has said is that he'd love to buy United, but they're not for sale. Jamie Vardy in The Athletic says United are considering a move for Jamie Vardy, but Leicester are reluctant to sell him. why are we looking at these targets? For what it would cost you in wages and even the nominal transfer fee, there are better options out there. Rukov says Garner, Ericsson, De Jong would be a quality second line. Move Bruno over Rashford's position. There are options there, aren't there? Abhinav said that I also see Jim Radcliffe outside an ATM. Yeah, he was complaining about the £2.50 fee as he was trying to withdraw $5 billion in cash. Can you imagine having a current account? I'm sure he's not, right? I'm sure once you get above, well, certainly above the sort of cash I have in the bank, yeah, the absolute fucking madness that I've got in my account of about 100 quid, right? I'm sure once you get past the crazy levels of that, right, the eye-watering amounts of £85.17 in your account, at what stage do you end up with private banking, right? At what stage do you even have a current account, or do you just have a phone number of a guy that does stuff for you? Because if you've got $1 billion in the bank, you ain't going to the cash machine, are you? Like, do you just have a dude that boxes you off and he brings the cash to you wherever you are? Like, has he got like a Lloyd's account? Can he just walk up to a cash machine and see 17 billion? You may withdraw, 500 quid today? Like, what level of absolutely balling out of control are you when you've got 17 billion? And I'm sure it's not cash, is it? He's got it in assets. So, but even if he had like 3 or 4 billion in cash, god damn. Unbelievable techers. So Matt has dropped in a super chat. He says, don't mind selling Garner if we get De Jong and Savic. I'd still mind selling Garner if we got De Jong and Savic, because I think he'd be an excellent backup to those two. But if it was like, look, we can't get them unless we raise this money, then I go, okay, for the greater good, that makes a bit more sense. But I still wouldn't be happy with it. Tom says, Academy boys, Garner, Zidane, etc. will give more for the badge than the garbage that we play week in, week out. Don't disagree. Rob Davison says, selling Garner, witnessing the cultural strip mining of MUFC, selling any sellable asset and retaining overpriced duds that boost the balance sheet. Probably something in that. I think. So yeah, on Ronaldo. So I spoke to Rio about it this morning. Hang on, Josh has just dropped in a super chat. Let's get to that first. Josh says, if the consortium was real, why would they have a clown like that as a spokesperson? Any buyer would get an ex-player like Berbatov to be the bloke, not a failed football club owner. I agree. And also, this consortium supposedly doesn't have the money to run the club and supposedly is trying to drive down the asking price of the club. But the one action that they did in him going public last week was to actually raise the share price, which therefore raises the amount of money that it would cost to get the club out of the Glazers' hands, ironically, driving the price up rather than driving the price down. And for all of the people, don't buy the fucking bullshit that these guys are saying, that if you're not with us, then you support the Glazers. That's not the fucking case. You have to prove that you would be a better owner than these. Now, I don't think it would be too hard to be a better owner than the Glazers. But that doesn't mean that automatically everybody else is better than the Glazers. You have to go and show. I mean, the bar's low. The bar is low to be better than the Glazers. But if you don't have the money to buy the club, then you don't have the money to furnish the debt, and you don't have the money to develop the stand, and you don't have the money to invest into the first team, then why are we getting you in over the Glazers? Because you're a fan? Is the guy a fan? I don't know if the guy's a fan. I read an article where he said he was a Sheffield Wednesday fan. So what the fuck are we doing? So, you know what I mean? Akash says, with the Glazers at the helm, we should just dissolve the roster and convert Old Trafford into the Football History Museum with scenes everywhere of the treble-winning squad of the 1991 Cup Winners' Cup, and we'd already have the statues on the field anyway. Sounds like a great idea. It would make millions a season. Who wouldn't want to know the full history of 1991 every day? That'd be amazing. I can't imagine there'd be anyone in the world that wouldn't want to come and visit that. Jack says, the new owners of Newcastle offered the Glazers $4 billion, but the Glazers said no. Complete incompetence. Yeah, so if these aren't going with $4 billion, which they've already turned down, now that might have been because they thought that things like the European Super League might have been a factor. That might have been the case. It might have been the case that they had other things that was in the pipeline on top of the European Super League where they thought they could get even more money. And that might have been decision-making factors for them. But the current situation now is they don't seem interested in selling. And I don't believe that one person sparking the conversation about them selling is going to make any difference whatsoever. We marched in 2005 saying we're not for sale. Guess what? We was, and we were sold. And we've protested them every single year since, and they can't find a fuck to give. They really do not care. So I don't think you're going to see any response from them whatsoever. The only way you're going to go to them and force them to sell is if you absolutely pay through the nose for us, and someone in the Glazer family goes, they've just offered us 10 billion, it's only worth 4, let's fucking cash out the chips. You can't go to them and offer them a fair market price for something they don't want to sell. You're not going to entice them like that. You're just not. You got to go and blow them out of the water, and I don't believe that these guys have got the cash to do that. So for all of the talk about they're doing this, that, and the other, here's what they're doing. They're getting people's hopes up to ultimately lead to nothing. And Knighton was tweeting on the weekend, he guarantees that they'll be gone by, that might not have been the exact word he used. Let me get the exact word he used, because we know he loves to sue, or claims he loves to sue at least anyway. Let me see the exact word he got. But the inference was that he would ensure that they are gone before the end of this season. That's a hell of a claim for someone that doesn't have the money to buy us and isn't in a position to sell us. I can't believe people are putting any sort of trust into this guy's thingy. Here we go. I am so sorry I cannot be more precise with the dates. This is very difficult. We have done well to get this far. These owners will be gone by the end of the season. How can you say that? He's not in a position to know that. Absolutely, frankly, ridiculous statement. So I'm not a fan of what these guys are doing in the slightest in terms of raising people's hope. And if he was serious, why would you even attempt to be doing this, that, and the other? Why would you even attempt to be if you were serious, why would you be going talking about it on podcasts and stuff like that? Do you think Jim Radcliffe's going to do this? Do you know what I mean? Doesn't make sense to me. And on the Ronaldo thing, because I've been meaning to talk about that for a second. On the Ronaldo thing, I think it's just hearsay that you see about him, going doing this, that, and the other, or sitting on his own at Carrington. And don't let Ronaldo. I'd have got rid of Ronaldo, right? I would have got rid of Ronaldo if we could have got somebody else in. I would have done. I don't think you can just be left with Tony Marshall. I don't think that would be a good use of what we need to do. But I would have allowed Cristiano Ronaldo to leave if we had another replacement coming in, or if it was reliant on us getting rid of Ronaldo to bring that replacement in. I would have allowed that transfer to happen. But let's not turn Ronaldo into the scapegoat for us losing 4-0, because that's absolutely ridiculous. He doesn't control the De Gea mistakes. Do you know what I mean? I'm not having Ronaldo made out to be the scapegoat for a complete, utter lack of cohesion in the team. I find that very, very difficult to breathe. Ex-Gen Game Boy says, why not try Icardi on loan better than Arnautovic? I get a bad vibe with Icardi, to be honest. Chris says, just think it's obvious that the morale went south after Ronaldo's return in the squad. No, I mean the timing adds up, but that doesn't mean that was the cause. Hostad says the consortium doesn't exist without Jim Radcliffe, but Jim Radcliffe exists without the consortium. It's all nonsense. Serious buyers, please, not PR pretenders. Like I put on Twitter last night, right? If the Glazers went, go on then, make us an offer, there would be queues around the block, as we saw with Chelsea. There would that creates a bidding war. Not going to them with less than they want for the club and saying, we haven't really got enough money to buy the club, but will you take that? take it or leave it. Well, yeah, we'll fucking leave it, won't we? Because they know if they put the club up for sale today, there would be a bidding war. That doesn't mean that these guys have created the bidding war, which they'll definitely try and take credit for. It's absolutely bonkers. What happens when they die? I don't know. I mean, it's a whole family that runs I think it's called Red Football, is their company. So I imagine it would just pass down through the family, I imagine. Abhinav says, according to Josh's point, can't we replicate your model for the paddock, raise money worldwide, put a constitution in place, elect people to the board and take over would be better than Knightley. I think you mean Knighton. Okay, let's do the maths, shall we, right? 4 billion. I mean, let's call it 6 billion because I actually think it would be that. My calculator won't even do the maths. Someone's going to have to do the maths here for me. But I think, could you get several 100 million people to put in like $1,000? How much could that raise? Probably still doesn't even get near it. Because some people would put in more than others, I'm sure. Or would want to, but to do it democratically, everyone has to be the same. I don't know if you could do it. And I don't know who starts to organise that. And where does that money go? Does that the Manchester United Supporters Trust? I couldn't tell you. It's not something I could fathom, in all honesty. Yes, we've done it with Paddock and it was successful, but I don't know if it scales to bringing in, 4 or 6 billion. 6 million people to put $1,000 in. Is that correct for 6 billion? Let me just try and do it on the internet, see if it adds up. All right, yeah. 6 million people. 6 million people with $1,000 feels like it would be quite difficult to organise. 60 million for 100 quid might be more doable, or maybe you split the difference and you say 30 million people for 200 quid. Barcelona, let's have a see how many members Barcelona have got. Barcelona's membership's like 200 and some a year. So there's 144,000 members of Barcelona. And they're all paying in, let's call it 250 quid. That actually brings them in 36 million a year. But could you bring that in? If you say it was a one-time purchase for 6 million people, I don't know if you get it, because United would sell at most 2 million shirts on average. 6 million people putting in $1,000 to own the club. It's a more viable option than I think the one that's on the table at the moment. I think. How you do that, I don't know. I think the best way you would do that is, can you get 10 million to pledge the $1,000? Because out of all of the pledges, there's some people, and you don't take the cash. So you say, I will pledge. Can we get 6 million to pledge to take back control of the club? 6 million is a lot of fucking people. A lot of people. And then you run it democratically like we do with Paddock. Or is it 600,000? Ed T's what I put 600,000 putting up 10 grand would be more realistic. I don't think that's realistic. How do you run the club after that? You run it like any other democratically elected members club. That was another thing about the MK consortium bid. They wanted to give 25% to the fans. It was... is that going to be for free? How are you going to decide which fans get that? Do you know what I'm saying? I don't know. I'm not the man that would figure this one out, in all honesty. It's beyond my capabilities. Abhinav says, why is Knighton speaking against Must? I don't know. Why is he fucking suing a YouTuber? Kevin Lobos, do I need to pay to chat? I don't know. Do you? Why not implement the 50+1 thing if the club is sold? Yeah, that's what I didn't understand. He wanted to do 25%. Well, why not 50%? Ethan says, we wouldn't be able to inject any more cash. We'd be permanently behind the likes of City. You don't need to inject cash. The Glazers have stripped out 1.5 billion of Manchester United's money in the last 17 years. If that 1.5 billion would have gone on top of what we'd spent, do you think United would be in the same situation? It would need to be managed, of course. It would need to be managed better than it has been, absolutely. But do you know what I mean? Like, you don't necessarily... If you buy Manchester United and you can eliminate the debt, you don't need to actually invest. You can just let it run itself. Simon Cowie says the Glazers said a while back they won't sell unless they get 8.5 billion. Wowzers. Then clear the debt. That's an extra 500 million, so it's around 9 billion plus before investment. Yeah. The one thing I think you would genuinely have to invest in is the stadium. I think you could probably run the club on itself. Ben Kelly says, I hate how all the pundits say the Glazers aren't the problem and say we're spending more than other clubs. Drives me up the wall. Think how much, an extra 150 million or so to spend on players every single season for the last decade. Can you imagine the impact that would have had? Paul Murray says, we need someone with extremely deep pockets. These businessmen will want a return on investment, meaning more money taken out of the club, swings and roundabouts. Yeah, that's the other thing. The only way you're ever going to do it correctly, and even Barcelona are kind of showing that that's not always the case as well, is if it's owned by the fans. And it's owned by the fans, and maybe there's not even a dividend for the fans. I'd be happy not getting a dividend. If I could say I own it and I get a democratic say in moving the club forward ethically and morally and there was actually good voting stuff. I mean, I practice what I preach. I've literally created that with Stretford Paddock. Like, I believe in that as a system. I just don't know if it's as easy. It's certainly not going to be as easy, but I don't know if it scales up to the level you would need it to when you start talking about billions and billions and billions. Like, I don't know if it scales up to the level where you would need it be with Manchester United, and that's the difficult thing for me. Devam Sharma with a super chat there says, I'm going to spam Elon Musk on Twitter to buy the club. At least he'll ask how much. Yeah, maybe. And he's probably got it cash money and doesn't need to start taking loans out to do it. Abhinav says, United have a lot of wealthy fans. Fix a membership at 3K, get people on board. We can have a proper democratic process, can work it out. It shouldn't be two-tier, though. No, the old age pensioner that's been going since the 50s should have every single right to the same amount of vote as Elon Musk does if Elon Musk turns out to be a secret United fan. It shouldn't matter. Your economic status shouldn't dictate how much of a say you have in your football club. That's my belief, yeah? Your football club is that guy's football club, is my football club, is this guy's football club. And democracy means democracy. It doesn't mean two-tier. It doesn't mean the ones who paid 10 grand get 10 more says than the people who paid £1,000. Fuck that noise. It's £1,000 or something that people would consider affordable, and that's it. That's it. You can't have two-tier democracy. You have to allow people to be able to vote because they're fans, not based on their economics. That's it. When are we allowed to speak about Mason? I don't know. Am I worried about how cold my food is getting? No. Abhinav says, feel like I'm having chicken fried rice. Sensational. Ed says, according to reports, Ronaldo's just sent me this actually. Rabiot's move to United will happen, which will facilitate Paredes to Juve and then Fabian Ruiz to PSG. Wait, we fucked this. We should have been ones at the back of that queue picking up fucking Ruiz. That's a shit idea. Vicky says, even though most people are upset with Dean Henderson for his comments, he still suits us better than De Gea. What a performance he had. And it was a complete performance. It was obviously the penalty save. It was stepping out of his box with the ball confidently, being pressed, not asked, playing short, playing long. It was claiming stuff in his 6-yard box. It was fucking brilliant. Brilliant performance. What place do I think we're getting this season? I don't fucking know. Don't ask me this week. Ant says, was there a dressing room argument at Carrington before the match versus Brentford? Not that I'm aware of, but that doesn't mean there wasn't. Michael, I haven't spoken to anyone. Michael says, surely the ex-United players could put money together and buy it, at least get someone to invest with them. Oscar says, do I feel as though Ronaldo has been betrayed by the club, promised a few final glory years while hiding the real mess? Not just him. We have, and so has every other player that plays for us. Abhinav says, agreed, but this is to get the club off the hands, then we make it public, no tears. Maybe that's doable. But then, you know, I don't know if that's achievable to do it in that manner. What do I think about Raul de Thomas? What? Hang on. Amar Khan says, why are you so against Knighton? We need new owners. At least he's getting a discussion started. Watch John Gubber's video stating the consortium. I've watched it, right? Hilariously, the two titles of the videos make this make sense, right? So the two titles of the videos that John put out, one of them, where is it? One of them was called Michael Knighton's Hostile Bid. And then the other one, why Michael Knighton is not my Manchester United Football Club. How contradictory is that? I'm not necessarily against Michael personally. I just wanted to go and explore him buying the club. I have questions. The questions went up on Twitter. I watched his interview. I watched it completely open-minded. Like a lot of United fans did, I imagine. I was like, okay, what's this all about? Let's have a watch. So I started having a watch. And then as I'm watching, I'm not buying what he's selling. So I got some questions. Namely, the questions were, one, if the consortium has money pledged, which is what he says, the money is there, pledged, and the offer document is being written as we speak, right? That's what he says, right? Then why do you need Jim Ratcliffe? Two, the term hostile takeover was incorrect in the way he used it. And I find that worrying about someone that's supposedly heading up a consortium for a multi-billion-pound takeover. Three, his record at Carlisle is not good, including how the fans had to create a fans group against him because they weren't happy with the representation that the fans got at Carlisle. If you don't think that those are three very valid questions, then we can't have a discussion anymore. And then four, and I mentioned this earlier, going public with the bid seems to have raised the price by 12% in the last week. When you talk about getting the price down so you can take the club off the Glazers, but you've ironically raised the price theoretically by 500 million with your actions this week. I don't believe in you, and I don't believe in your abilities when I see those things. If you think any of those things are not valid questions, do you know what I mean? JC says, I'm from Carlisle. He wasn't anything special. Trust me. Ragnav says, Rio or Fergie must surely know some billionaires who might be United fans. You'd assume so. I don't know that. David says, do I not think the Glazers saying it's not for sale is to keep the price up? Yeah, but you got to look at actions speak louder than words. They've never sold it. They've never even looked like they're going to sell it. They don't look like they're interested in selling it for me. Brandon says, we've been fighting too long to get the Glazers out just to be left with someone as incompetent as MK. Look, here's the other thing. There's an interview that I've only read the excerpts from where he says that they don't have enough money as the consortium to run the club, so they would be looking to buy it to then sell it again. You draw your own conclusions on that one. Paddy says the Glazers probably think they can fix it still. I don't know what the long-term plan is for the Glazers. It makes no sense to me. What they're making now in terms of revenue would be dwarfed by the revenue that they got if they sold it. It makes no sense for them to keep hold of it. Chris says you only get the Glazers out if you buy them shares for 35% more than they're worth. Probably. Simon says our legends like the class of 92 could start a campaign with a fan base to raise the money to buy the club, but they like to talk about the situation, no actions. My instinct, and I can't remember if I actually spoke to Gary about this at all or not, or if I spoke to someone around Gary about this. My instinct with them buying Salford was that they was going to sandbox running a club, like practice running a club, before then trying to take over Manchester United. That was my instinct on it. But then I've spoken to people who work for them, and it seems like their very real agenda is to get Salford into the Premier League. So I'm not sure anymore how that's going to dice up. I don't know. Thomas says, do you reckon they'd still sell up if Man United are in the relegation battle this year? I have no idea. Matej says, joined a little too late. What is the news on transfers? It sounds like there's people making the noises that Frenkie De Jong could be a United player before the Liverpool game. That is the news. Looks like we're allowing Jimmy Garner to go. Interested in Vardy, and supposedly Ronaldo's contract could get chopped up. So I don't know. Mohanad says, what if Russia do a 180 and Abramovich buys us? I've got to be honest, I didn't understand everything that happened with Abramovich, how because his mate is the Prime Minister, he's now not allowed to own his club, when we've got literal countries that are literally at war that are allowed to buy clubs. That has never been fully explained to me in a way that I understand it. Little bit dodge. Ricky says, we as fans need to stop going to home games, buying merch, protest constantly outside Old Trafford. They're not there and they don't care, mate. I don't know the correct way to get them out, right? I'm not saying I got the cast iron way that we can do it. I don't know. They've been here for 17 years. We've tried a lot of things and it doesn't seem to have worked. Saijo says it was for enforcing sanctions. Yeah, but I don't understand that. Score prediction for the Liverpool game. Don't make me do that. SK says Britain should be sanctioned for Iraq and Libya. Right. I might not necessarily agree, but I can agree with your point. Do you know what I mean? You might have a point here that's entirely valid for examination, whether I agree with it or not. I think there's a point there. Ash says, are we putting Garner up for sale because we know De Jong is coming? I'm hoping that's the case. There was just something I was about to say then, and it completely slipped my mind. What was it? What was the comment? Hit the Glazers in the cash cow. Right, yeah, so people talk about Attack United sponsors. And I was on the flash mobbing. I might have to throw an allegedly in here on some of the actions that happened under flash mobbing with the likes of Nike and Ladbrokes back in 2005 and 2006. Those people no longer sponsor Manchester United. So can you say that they no longer sponsor Manchester United because of the protests and the attacks and flash mobbing and stuff like that against them? Maybe. But Manchester United found more partners. And just like 2,500 people left to go and set up FC United, we didn't hurt for people to go into the ground. Every season ticket holder doesn't go in the ground for the rest of the season, and Manchester United cancelled their season tickets for it, Old Trafford would be full. And if you attack this sponsor, they'll get a new sponsor. David says, what was the issue with Nike? The issue with Nike was they were supporting the Glazers, so they got flash mobbed. That's it. That's the issue with Nike. Preston says, can't believe any of our home players want to get to the World Cup with these performances. You know what I'm saying? How do I rate Isaac Howson Aaron? I think he's a tricky little player. I think he'll struggle to get first team stuff at the moment, at least anyway. Dribbly says, who would MK sell to and how, and why wouldn't that person just go direct and buy the Glazers? What a perfectly reasonable question. I think someone in charge of a consortium somewhere should probably answer. But won't. He's going to go and talk to people that'll pander to him and butter him and fucking want to be best friends with him because they think he'll be buying the club. But I'll keep it real and I'll keep it honest. And if I've got questions, I will ask those fucking questions. And I know Sam Peoples from United People's TV has asked him. I hope he goes on them as well. And I hope he gets to ask him the questions, but I don't anticipate the guy answering any questions. I don't think it's his style. Righty, I'm going to wrap it up there. Cheers for tuning in. Loads of you tuned in. Make sure to like the video. Keep it safe. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Laters.